Today, we're talking about something that is often viewed as being taboo: sex. But more importantly, how is my sex drive connected to my creativity and my mental health? And before anyone panics, this isn't me telling you to have more sex. This is about understanding that energy that's already inside of you and how it's affecting your mental well being every single day. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, creative blocks, or you're abstaining and focusing on yourself, this conversation is going to help you understand why your mental health and sexual energy are more connected than you think. Welcome to Adjusting. Welcome to Adjusting, a safe space for candid conversations about mental health and well being with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Whether you're recovering from trauma, redefining your purpose, managing mental health, or simply craving more authenticity, this show is for you. I hope something resonates with you and helps you on your own personal journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And we are back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. And y'all, this is a part 2 of an episode I've done recently from season 1. Season 1's episode was Adjusting Your Sexual Position. And today we're going to talk about adjusting your sex drive when it comes to being a creative and unlocking your creativity, not the other stuff. So sorry to let you down. However, it does touch on some other things, but we will get to that once I make a few announcements and we do our breathing. So, welcome back to another episode. Thank you to TJ with TJ Podcast for editing. Make sure you support him and his podcast. Season 4 is launching. If you would like to support me and my other platforms, you can do so by following them on their various pages. If you are into vegan lifestyle, you can follow Earthy and Cultured. If you're into branding and marketing or looking to find ways to elevate your brand, follow Type J Marketing. If you would like to follow and support my performance career as I journey to Broadway and film and TV, you can do so by following my personal page at Justin G. Nelson. I got my men's fashion page back, so the Detailed Gentleman will be making, its comeback very soon once I get this weight back off. But you can follow that page as well at the Detailed Gentleman on Instagram only. My Substack. So a Substack announcement. I have made a separate Substack. I know, Justin, you just got too many pages. I know, and I hate doing it to myself. But in order to properly keep the content and the focus of this brand consistent and just its own standalone thing within Pacific Cup, I had to give its own Substack. So it's just adjustingpod.substack.com. The link is updated in the bio section or the link section, so you don't have to worry about that. Just subscribe, please. I've added a lot of stuff. I've added so much stuff. So adjusted perspectives, adjusted annotations, all of that is there on Substack. It's replacing my blog. So if you go to the website, click Substack, you'll go straight to the page. Also, I'm going to be a guest panelist at an event here in New York. I'm going to show the video in this episode. If you're watching online, you can see the video. But fun fact, I went to the organization's event last year. I went to the Mixer just to meet and greet, and I met some therapists there. And I had just launched Adjusting. And I was just like, yeah, I'm dabbling into the mental health space as a expert, not like a licensed therapist or a clinical worker or anything like that. But between then and now, I got my community health worker certification, and I got my soul shop for the Black Church suicide prevention certificate. So I've done work, and they reached out to me to be a panelist on their upcoming event, which is August 21st at, I think doors open at 6:00. It's free. So if you're in New York and you want to come and support, you can do so. The theme is around Sinners. The movie Sinners with Michael B. Jordan and written and directed by, what's his name? Kugler? I can't think of his first name. I see his face. Hey. Anyway, so yeah, I have to watch the movie. I haven't watched it, so I'm gonna have to do some really good notes and things like that. But I'm excited, y'all. Isn't it exciting? Oh my god. And so it's a block party happening Saturday, the 23rd, but the event I'll be speaking at as a panelist is the 21st. And I am truly humbled and grateful to be seen by my peers, which is something I always talked about in therapy. It's just like, do people see me? But they see me, so I'm happy. So, hi, great. Please, please, please come and support not only me, but Darkness Rising, which is an amazing organization. This is their 8th block party, and they are really doing the work for the Black community as far as mental health and making sure people can get access to therapy. So, please support. Thank you. Now, let's center ourselves. So it's funny because I was creating the outline for the episode and I was writing and I was just like, I feel like I've talked about this before. And I don't want to be the person that tries to do an episode based off something I've already talked about and just change the title. Because I don't want y'all to be like, didn't you talk about this already? I did. I did. But this episode will not focus so much on tantric yoga, but just more of the sacral chakra, creativity, and those things. But I said all that to say the 478 breathing is a creative breath that we use in the tantric yoga practice to help ground yourselves, but also help to unlock and unleash whatever is pent up. So I love doing that as we center ourselves for each episode, solely because I want to make sure you are in a place where you can receive the information that is for you. If anything I say ever in this podcast is not for you, you do not have to receive it. Trust me, I will not be offended because there is one person who can always benefit from something that is on this podcast. And you might not be that one, and that is okay. But if you're driving, focus on the road. Focus on the road. If you are home or in the office or somewhere where you can ground yourself to take 2 sacred breaths with me, I invite you to do so now by grounding your feet, relaxing your toes and your ankles, relax your shins, your calf, your kneecaps, your thighs, your hamstrings, your stomach, your chest, your shoulders, your neck, your chin, your cheeks, your nose, your forehead. Put a hand on your heart and a hand on your stomach. And we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. Begin. Breathe in 2, 3, 4, hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. If you're new here, that release should be a okay, not a but a okay. One more time. Breathe in 2, 3, 4. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out on a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release it all. Let it all out. Great. Okay, so let's talk about this. So I enjoy the conversation of sex, not the act of it, but the power behind sexual energy and sexual well-being, and how it connects so much with creativity. But it also ties with mental health. So let's talk about it. So in section 1, we're talking about addressing. Let's get real about what's actually happening. Why your creative brain and sexual brain are basically roommates. They're the same thing, okay? So here's the thing. Your brain literally uses the same pathways when it comes to sexual arousal and creative expression. That's why when something feels good. You feel it in your stomach, you feel it in your core. And that again is where the sexual chakra is associated. That's where life is made as it relates to women and female anatomy and the birthing process. But it's also a way to really resonate with, in the church. We're always talking about, I'm pregnant with possibilities, and um the birth of Jesus, and how he is the creator, and like all those things are tied with creation and stuff. You with me? Like we're jumping right into this topic. Anyway, that's why when you're sexually frustrated, your art might feel blocked, or when you have a creative flow, you might feel like you're more sexually alive. That's why a lot of people who are attuned to their sexual drive and their sexual habits. Some people abstain from sex so that they can focus all of that energy and that chi into a creative project. So I will say this: whenever we do the Tantric Yoga Challenge, we are challenged to abstain from any sexual activity, whether solo or with a partner, for 21 to 30 days. Some people can go for 40 days, but we've never done that in my challenge. However, in that time, you have a heightened sense of creativity and awareness, which you use towards a creative project. Beautiful experience. 10 out of 10, highly recommend it. But let's get more specific about where you might actually feel this. So that fluttery energy in the lower belly when you want to create something new, okay? That sexual energy, the tingling in your pelvis when you're writing or painting, same energy. That restless feeling that makes you want to move your hips while you're brainstorming, sexual energy. That's why I'm always saying move your hips. When you're dancing, or if you are in some type of rut creatively or something traumatizing, like I'm always saying, make sure you relax your hip flexors, but also stretching is really good to do when you're anxious, but just moving. And if I want to stretch this analogy, think about like if you're churchy and into Christianity, when the spirit of the Lord comes upon my heart, I would dance like David danced. And that is just, dancing is so connected to that sexual chakra in African dance, jazz, tap, hip hop, ballet. Like everything comes from the core and that pelvic muscle. So again, creativity and your what's the word? Sexual arousal and your creative expression are so connected. And I really want y'all to get that by the end of this episode. Some people feel it as warmth in their sacral area, others as a buzzing sensation that wants to move up the spine. And that's why when I say, breathe in, I want you to really breathe in from your core, send it up to your head, and take it back down to the pelvic muscle. That gets all of your chakras awakened and aligned. That gets the creativity flowing. So if you are going into a meeting, you can do this 4-7-8 breathing and really just center yourself and just like, I am worthy. I feel, amazing. I know I deserve this. I deserve to be here. Like really tap into those affirmations that connect to those parts of the body. But here's where it gets interesting for your mental health. When those pathways are blocked or conflicted, or you feel like you're going down an old pathway that hasn't really dissolved or gone away, it can trigger anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, loneliness, and so many other mood instabilities. So in different cultures, and I know some of y'all, or some people, not y'all, because y'all get me by now, but some people don't like to equate energy to something outside of just calling it energy. Some people don't even like to call it energy. They say that's taboo, that's demonic. Give me a break. But in other cultures, they call it chi, they call it kundalini, they call it life force. Like there's so many ways to categorize it, but it's all the same energy source that comes from that sacral chakra, and it all directly impacts your mental well-being. And if you're a creative person, you probably feel this energy more intensely than most people, which can create more mental health challenges if you don't understand what's happening or how to channel that energy. I've seen so many people in the creative space have like these mental health crash outs, or they just get overwhelmed, like, I want to do so much and I can feel it, but like, I don't know where to start. Start by breathing. Start by breathing and grounding yourself, and then write it down. The Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. Write down what it is you desire, and then use your energy to really see and birth it and make it happen. Like, you can't get to the end goal without the steps in the process. So treat your list or your goals like pregnancy. There are 9 months. It ain't got to take you 9 months to get there, but there are steps. There are check-ins, there are checkups, there are things you have to implement into the body. There are things you have to do before the pregnancy stage. You have to make sure you're healthy. Okay. So anyway, that is for my creatives out there. But let's rewrite what sexual wellness actually means for mental health. So before tantric yoga, before therapy, I used to think sexual wellness was all about how much sex you were having and your sexual orgasms and peak climax and all this stuff. And that is very commercial. That is very commercial. People will have you thinking the more sex you have and the more sexual partners you have means you are this creative being and you just have all the energy. Some of y'all are damaged. Some of y'all are using sex as a way to cope with trauma or to heal some wounds, abandonment wounds. And I'm not judging. I am not judging. That is where therapy comes in. That is where having good community and healthy friendships come in. That's where rewiring your nervous system comes in. Y'all, you'll get tired of me and my nervous system, but I just want you all to be safe, regardless of if you are harnessing that energy for good or you're still trying to cope. Just be safe. But sexual energy is literally your life force. It's what makes you want to create, want to express, want to bring something new into the world. And it's deeply tied to your emotional regulation. So when you're struggling with anxiety or depression, your relationship with sexual energy often gets complicated. Either you feel completely disconnected from it or it feels overwhelming. When you choose to redirect your energy instead of releasing it sexually, you're not suppressing anything. Stay with me. You're choosing where to invest your power, and that choice can incredibly heal your mental state. You get so much mental clarity by abstaining. Try it. Sometimes the most mentally healthy thing you can do is not have sex and channel that energy into healing, into your art, into recovery. So this episode might be adjusting your abstinence at the end of the day. But if you are going into like a major audition or a meeting or an interview or something, I challenge you, because I think bodybuilders do this before workout, before a competition, like a big bodybuilding competition. They abstain for at least like a week or two, and it just does something to their body genetically. But for creatives or entrepreneurs or people who are really trying to get there together, abstain for like 3 to 5 days before something major and watch the mental clarity you'll have. This has been known to be a game changer for anxiety management, and it helps you to understand your sexual frustrations or your sexual energy frustrations and where they directly connect to mental health patterns. So the sexual health, mental wellness connection, we don't talk about. Again, we don't talk about it. We talk about the commercial side, the OnlyFans side, and like all those things associated with sex, because in our head, sex is just the actual the thing that happens between two or more people, because nowadays people do everything. But let's be clear about something. Your sexual health and your mental health are inseparable, whether you're sexually active or not. When your sexual energy is flowing freely and you understand it, you tend to have better emotional regulation, more stable moods, and clearer thinking. But when there is sexual shame, disconnection, or trauma in your sexual self, it shows up as anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, doubt, stress, like all those things. You see where I'm going here? Great. This isn't about having orgasms. Again, it's not about peak orgasms or the act of sex. It's just about having a healthy relationship with your own life energy force, your sensuality, and your creative power. I love this episode. I've noticed that when I am in alignment with like tantric yoga or being abstinent, or just focusing my energy on the creation of a new project, baby, I am locked in. Okay. I find that even when I'm reading like my romance books, they help to give me a sense of dopamine kick in a way of just like, this is great. Let me pause here and go work on something while I'm on this high from these authors behind me. Listen, they write some good stuff. But when I'm disconnected from that energy or carry sexual shame, which is another reason I'm in therapy, because growing up, we didn't talk about the birds and the bees and stuff. Like a lot of things I learned from peers in school or from books or from TV. And so the older I got, the more my curiosity started to change and develop and things. And I was just like fascinating. But then when I met people within the tantric yoga community who were either poly or asexual or trans, I was just like, y'all are some beautiful people, and they create some of the most beautiful projects. And I'm always just like, I'm rooting for you. I'm supporting you because I get that sexual energy from you. And it's not from a let's have sex kind of thing, but it's more like a wow, that creative energy is rubbing off on me. So I now want to birth something beautiful. So let's pause and get real about where you're at right now with your sexual energy and mental health. Again, I don't want to know how many partners you've had in the past 6 months. Okay. I want to know how much you've created in the past 6 months. Are you feeling restless and can't figure out why? Creative blocks that seem to come out of nowhere? Anxiety that peaks at the worst times ever? Or depressions that feel heavier some days than others? Like, where are you? These might be signs your sexual energy is trying to tell you something about your mental state. Sometimes anxiety spikes when your sexual energy feels stuck, or your depression gets worse when you're disconnected from your life force entirely. Where do you feel creative energy in your body? I'm gonna tell you right now. For me, I feel it in my chest, my heart, and my stomach. Sometimes in my throat, depending on if it has to do with like the podcast, me speaking or singing or having conversations that used to intimidate me, but because I am more confident about sexuality, sexual shame, and other things within that world, the world of sexual energy and things like that, I can speak boldly from the throat chakra. But pay attention to where you feel aliveness in your body when you're creating. That's also often where the sexual energy lives too. So there's a huge difference between shame-based, I shouldn't feel this way, and conscious, I'm going to redirect my energy into something that serves my mental health and highest good. So if you're dealing with trauma, eating disorders, or other mental health challenges, this energy work may feel more intense. It's causing you to be more vulnerable, be more aware, but it is so freeing to be able to tap in to say, this doesn't feel good to me, or I need to end this cycle so that I can start over with a better community or just solo so that I can birth something beautiful. And that's just part one. All right, so let's move on to part two, adjusting. And here's how we actually work with this energy. So simple ways to move sexual energy into creative energy for mental wellness. All right, so we do this again at the beginning of every episode with breathing. Breathing is the most optimum way to really connect your sexual and creative energy. Breathe that energy up from your pelvis to your heart and then your throat, and imagine your energy just flowing. So do that now. Like, take a pause, take a break, and just take a deep breath in and just see your energy moving up. You can close your eyes and just get a visual. Think of it like a red dot just moving up and back down. You can take a short breath, but the deeper the breath, the higher the energy goes. This breathing technique has been amazing ever since my Tantra yoga experience, because it gives you something active to do with the overwhelming amount of energy. Again, movement is huge too. So dancing in your living room, doing some yoga, going for a run, going for a walk, stretching, like anything that moves energy throughout your body is going to release some good endorphins. Journaling. Journaling is a good one, especially if you don't feel you have a community or a person to talk to about like those really heavy creative things. So some of y'all are really holding out on the birthing process of your creative dreams and goals because you don't want to go through the process. Some of y'all just want to be like, I'm like, I got this project, it's done. It takes time. It takes journaling. It takes crying, starting over, dancing around the living room, making mistakes, like all those things that creative and sexual energy and how they tie in together. Some of y'all are not allowing them to work together. And I want you to. Also, when it comes to setting boundaries that support your mental health, if you're choosing to abstain or redirect your sexual energy, you need boundaries that protect your mental well-being. Maybe that means unfollowing accounts that trigger you, and not just the half-naked people, but I'm talking about other accounts that you feel are doing better than you, and just unfollow them for a minute and pop back out, because you don't want to have anything that triggers comparison or shame that makes you feel like you're not worthy, you're not doing enough. I unfollow people all the time. They don't notice. Okay, that's fine. It could also mean setting specific times for creative work when your sexual energy is highest, because routine is so important for anxiety and depression management. So some people, morning time is great. Other people, post lunch. Some people, nighttime. So just figuring out what works for your body as it relates to your sexual energy and your creative energy. You might be a night owl. Do it. I work best in the night. And I think it's because my body's just wired, because I worked on Broadway for so long. And when I get off work, I'm still like energetic. So I'm just like working. But I'm trying to do better with balancing the day and night. It ain't working yet, y'all. I'm sorry. Remember, you're working with your natural rhythms and mental health patterns, not fighting against them. There's no perfect way to do this. If you're dealing with depression, some days your sexual energy might be completely absent. And honor that. Don't force it. Respect where your body is. Respect what your body is telling you. Again, it's similar to a woman who is pregnant. Some days she'll have energy. Other days she just want to sit down and eat her craving meals and prop her feet up and mind her business. Like, she tired. That's how it is sometimes when you're creating a project. Just saying, if you struggle with anxiety, you might need more structure around when and how you work with this energy. Honor what your nervous system needs. There's your nervous system again. But also, on a serious note, if there is ever a time where this sexual energy and the work you're doing with it and your creativity becomes too much to where anxiety is like kicking your butt, that's when you need to seek some professional support. And I would really say be gentle with yourself throughout this process. Again, I am not a licensed therapist. I'm just sharing what has worked for me. And I know the topic of sex, while it is, thrown around a lot for clickbait and for engagement, it is something that I do not play around with, because I know how traumatizing it is and how so much of the inner child connection or the damage that's done as an inner child shows up in ways because of sexual anything. sexual trauma, for lack of better words, and we don't often sit with it or deal with it or heal from it, and it shapes how we are as adults or how our identity is personified through that. So it's going to get a little heavy right now, but if you have a history of sexual trauma, like we talked about in season 1, this might trigger some stuff and you might need more mental health support. Working with a therapist who understands both sexual wellness and mental health isn't just okay, it's smart, especially if you're dealing with anxiety disorder, depression, PTSD, or an eating disorder. Because a lot of people associate sex to body image, and they were told, you too big, or you too small, or your breasts aren't big enough, or your penis isn't big enough, and like those things can trigger people to start doing plastic surgery or getting other things to help grow or shrinking these. And I do not want people to develop body dysmorphia because of sex. No pun intended, but fuck them folks. Like, there is someone out there who is willing to love you just the way you are. Okay. But sometimes what feels like spiritual or energetic work is actually your nervous system being dysregulated. And that's when professional mental health support becomes crucial. Be gentle with yourself during this process. Your mental health always comes first, and there's no shame in getting help. As someone who's been in therapy for 5 years, I love it. Okay. Great. We're good. Take a pause if you need to. We're going to move to section 3. Building your future self from this energy. Okay, so we've talked about them being cousins, sexual and creative energy, and they're related. We talked about where it shows up. We talked about how to move it through your body. But again, as I build this structure of the whole you pyramid, I have to talk about how and why all of this relates to your future self. So imagining your most mentally healthy creative self. Okay. So we've talked about moving the energy up and down. We've talked about the steps in which some of us avoid when it comes to birthing something creative. But when you imagine and close your eyes and dream of yourself in the most sexually attuned, mentally balanced person, what does that look like? Like, does it look like sunshine and rainbows? Does it look like mimosas and avocado toast? Like, I don't know. Like, how does it feel to you? But close your eyes for a second. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. How are you using your sexual energy to support both your creativity and your mental health? What does it look like when you're living in complete alignment between your sexual wellness, your creative goals, and your mental well-being? This is energetic integrity, okay? When every part of you is working toward the same vision of mental and creative well-being. That's beautiful. Your future self isn't perfect at all, okay? You will always be doing some type of work, but they have tools for managing anxiety. They know how to set a good boundary, okay? And they know how to regulate their nervous system. Maybe your future self has learned that redirecting sexual energy actually helps stabilize their mood, or that creative expression becomes a form of therapy. So envision yourself with a deep understanding of your own mental health patterns and how sexual energy plays into them. Second thing, making this real as a part of like your daily mental health pattern. We always talk about journaling and going for walks and stuff, but start small. Maybe it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes morning practice of how do I want to use my energy today for my mental well-being. Again, this might be a rest day for you. We go to the gym, we work out on our body. Some of us do every day. Some of us do 4 days a week. But those rest days are important. And especially when it comes to your sexual and creative energy, you can do a rest day. We talked about adjusting your playlist and adjusting to loneliness and all those things, and how silence is very important, not from like I want to shut everything out. It's like I want to make time and space for new things to come in. So check in with yourself weekly. What's working for your mental health? What needs adjusting? No judgment, no shame, no critique, no nothing. Just you and yourself and your future self saying, hey, what's out of alignment that I can do better with? Do I need to cut somebody off? Do I need to cut some habits off? Am I drinking too much? Am I smoking too much? Am I putting too much time in social media? Like do an audit, an energy audit. Great. Find people, whether it's friends who get it, online communities. There are sexual communities that don't deal with actual sex, but just the conversation of sacred energy exchange, or a therapist. I don't say talk to your pastors, okay? And I don't want to get too deep in that, but if you know your pastor is mentally capable of having a conversation like this, talk to them. If not, don't. Just don't, because they will hit you. Well, the Bible says that. I ain't asked that question. I asked you about this. Anyway, and please celebrate your wins. Celebrate. If you can abstain for 5 days and you get that, celebrate. Okay? Every time you consciously redirect your energy in service of your mental health, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways and the neuroplasticity of it. It's just beautiful how everything in your body is affected some way by your mental health. If you're dealing with depression, some days might feel simply impossible. You feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Dance it off. Okay? Shake it. That you have to remember to lean on your support system or professional help. But like Christina and Meredith, have a little dance party, turn on some music and just shake it off. Great. Track your patterns. I used to do this when it came to my mood swings, and I know now why they happen because I'm into astrology. But track your patterns, see what days work, see what days don't. So it's like kind of how women track their cycle. You're going to track your energy cycle. Yeah, great. And that keep this practice alive for as long as you can, okay? Your creative projects become more sacred containers for this energy and powerful tools for your mental health maintenance. Pour that life force energy into your art. Whether you're a musician, you have a podcast, you're a content creator, you're a performer on stage, you are a teacher, an educator, whomever you are, whatever position you serve in, you have life force energy. So pour that life force into what you're doing as a form of active therapy and emotional regulation. Remember that sexual and creative energy are cyclical, just like mental health. Some weeks you'll feel like a creative king. Okay, you walk around like, I got it. And other days, you be wanting to fight people because you're struggling. You're overcompensating or you're just overstimulated. Be gentle. Great. During mental health crisis, big life change or trauma anniversaries, mine are like holidays. Come back to the basics. Breathe, move, create, get support, be gentle with yourself. Again, with everything, especially mental health, this isn't a destination. It is a lifelong practice of understanding how your sexual energy, creativity, and mental health are all interconnected. If you take nothing else from this episode, just remember that. And last thing, remember, managing your sexual energy mindfully can actually become one of the most powerful tools you can use for anxiety management, depression recovery, and overall mental well-being. Great. So your sexual energy is your creative power. And understanding this connection can be transformative for your mental health, whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, trauma, PTSD, or you're simply choosing to focus more energy on you. You get to decide how to use this energy. So be patient with yourself. Remember, birthing new projects takes time. It also takes mindful attention and you knowing what you want to put into it, who you want to create or birth something with, not someone. I'm not talking about deadbeat baby daddies or baby mamas. I'm talking about you and what you're creating. Okay. Great. So trust yourself to know what serves your mental health and your highest good. And join me next week. I think we're talking about adjusting your space and cleaning some shit up, whether it's physical or mental or emotional. So until next time, keep adjusting. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.